As reporters, there are some stories that just stick with you through the years. And for our Tanya Francisco, it was the story of Yummy Sandier, a young man who at 11 years old had a rap sheet longer than most adults. He died violently, gangland style, by 14 and 16-year-old brothers.
Well, tonight, for the first time, we hear from both of those brothers about that fateful night, what they've learned, and their hopes for the future. It's a story you'll only see on WGN.
At 36, Craig Hardaway is older, wiser, but he's also a little nervous when it comes to this interview.
I always saw media as the enemy.
20 years after a notorious murder that thrust him into the national spotlight, for the first time ever, he and his younger brother Derek are talking about the case that changed their lives forever.
It took me years to really admit and accept my role in it.
It was an unusually chilly September night in 1994 as the body of an 11-year-old was loaded into the back of an ambulance. He had been shot twice in the back of the head, in a hit ordered by the leaders of the Black Disciples.
What happened that night?
Chaos.
Despite numerous requests over the years, this is the first interview Craig Hardaway has agreed to do. Craig was only 16 years old when his mugshot was plastered on TV, arrested for the murder of 11-year-old Robert Yummy Sandier. His brother Derek, 14 at the time, was too young for his mugshot to be released. He was convicted of driving the getaway car. All three, Craig, Derek, and Yummy, members of the same gang, chasing money, respect, and trying to make a name for themselves.
For me, it was more like identity. It was more like, okay, I want to belong to something. I want to be a part of something.
It's an addiction. It's a strong addiction, and it pulls you in quick.
It was a clear black night, a clear white moon. Warren G was on the streets.
The summer of 1994 saw Nate Dogg and Warren G's Regulate topping the charts, O.J. Simpson preparing for the trial of the century, and Chicago well on its way to recording 930 homicides, the second highest on record. Among the dead, 14-year-old Siobhan Dean, shot in the head by a stray bullet during a shooting spree in the city's Roseland neighborhood that injured two other teens. Chicago police quickly identified 11-year-old Robert Sandier as the gunman. That led to an intense three-day manhunt. Gang leaders decided that Robert needed to be silenced because he knew too much, so they ordered Craig to kill him.
Why did Robert die?
By means of not my control.
And was it your life versus his life?
Absolutely.
You thought it was that simple as either you do this or you die.
And that's how it always boils down. It's not like any wiggle room when you live in that lifestyle.
So you're saying you had no other choice?
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Derek refused to leave his brother's side.
A lot of people don't know that he actually took me home, and I can just feel someone right. So when I asked him what's going on, and he told me everything, I refused to let him go by himself.
I should have been more of a big brother, just get out, right? But at the time, that ain't the way you think. I'm still a minor, we still kids.
Hours after the murder, both brothers were in custody, and months later, they were convicted felons. Craig, 60 years for murder, Derek, 45 for driving the getaway car. They were the only two ever tried in the case, even though they say others were involved.
Why not tell?
Because I was believing in the foolishness they was telling me, as far as the gangs and that lifestyle.
What did they tell you?
How they gonna be there, support, take care of us, our families, everything.
And?
Nothing. Literally nothing. No letter, no contact, no money for me, my family, they needs, no lawyer, literally nothing.
Abandoned by their fellow gang members and isolated from their families, the brothers have spent the past 20 years rehabilitating themselves. Both have gotten their GEDs and associate degrees. Derek is cultivating his landscaping skills by working in the prison garden, and Craig is involved in anti-violence programs. But for Craig, there is one piece of unfinished business, reaching out to Yummy's family, who has not responded to him or us.
What would you say to them?
Wow, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll answer any questions that they may have. concerning that night, leading up to that night.
Both brothers say they think about Yummy's murder every day. The tears, they say, have long since dried up. Instead, they're focused on getting out one day and making sure that others don't end up on the same path that led them to prison.
I think if they hear it from someone that lived it and been through it, it might reach them a little bit better.
And I know most people listen to this and be like, what the hell do this dude know? He been in jail for 20 years. He shouldn't have did what he did, yada, 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 yada. That still don't take away from the message. Value your life. You matter. Look in the mirror and tell yourself that you matter. Accept that the responsibility of your life ultimately rests with you.
Derek Hardaway is eligible for parole in 2016. Craig Hardaway will be eligible in 2024. Neither brother plans to return to the Roseland neighborhood where they grew up for fear that they could be drawn back into a lifestyle that Derek says will only lead them back to prison or to a grave. Tanya Francisco, WGN.